Welcome to Built with Purpose. I am Chris Fay, and this is the show where vision meets execution and leadership leaves a legacy. From design studios to innovation hubs and product lines to skylines, we meet the people building more than great companies. They're creating culture, driving impact, and shaping what's next. These are the stories and strategies behind how the world gets built with purpose. All right, everybody, welcome to Built with Purpose. Today is another episode of Between the Builds. Gives us a chance to reflect back on one of our previous guests and just give you a little bit of a leadership lens or a leadership insight that hopefully you can take action on today. So, last week, one of my great friends, he's actually on my advisory board and have known him for years and years and years, a guy named Brad Hansen. He's come from the technology industry, was in finance, and actually went and worked in a nonprofit, a daycare, which I thought was a really interesting story. Ultimately got into a company called Go Engineer, became the CEO of that organization. And, I think when Brad left, they probably had somewhere around 400 employees. And I think that company has just continued to flourish. And so one of the things that I've always really appreciated about Brad is just his sincerity. Like, you just talk to somebody and you just immediately trust them, you like them, and you want to spend your time with them. And so as I was thinking about what we could talk about today, like what was the leadership lessons from him? It was really what are we doing as leaders, as individuals, to put ourselves in positions to be successful? One of my favorite quotes, I've said this before on the pod, is from Gandhi, and it's, your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values ultimately become your destiny. And so in order to reach your destiny, whatever your destiny looks like, it all is a foundational belief that you have. It comes back to your beliefs. And as you begin to think something, as you begin to believe it, you then begin to think it, you then begin to speak it and act it, and then ultimately live it. And I think that was interesting about Brad. I mean, the thing that he reflected back on is he didn't really know what he wanted to do until he was 48 years old. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, I'm about to be 45. I'm 45. He was 3 years older than I am at the time that he knew what he wanted to do. And so I think, back to a lot of us, like, we're sitting here struggling, right? We're sitting here like, gosh, what do I want to do? I'm 35 years old. I'm 40 years old. I'm 45. I'm 50. I'm 55. I'm 60 years old. And maybe you have not necessarily found that passion yet. Maybe you haven't found something that you just love and like you can really get behind, and you are just doing what God intended you to do on this planet. And I think the reality is that probably changes over time, right? Because I'm 15 years into the role that I'm in today. My experience and my role, 10 years ago looked a lot different than it does today, which is going to look a lot different than it will 5 to 10 years from now. So I think that can change. But ultimately, in my mind, thinking about back to Brad, what did Brad do? Brad continuously learned. Like, he put himself in positions to learn, to be open-minded, to embrace that opportunity, to really love people, and to surround himself with really, really great folks. Those mentors, those peers, those people that he surrounded himself with. And ultimately what he did is he put himself in a position to be lucky, right? Sometimes I talk about, it's better to be lucky than good. I can tell you in my life, I've done a lot of really awesome things. And I can honestly go back to a tremendous amount of those awesome things I've done in my life. And I can't tell you why it happened. But honestly, I think what it was is I was in the right place. I was doing the right things. I was talking to the right people. And you know what? I got a little lucky. And so for all of us, as we sit here and we question our careers, we question our lives, our families, our friendships, our health, whatever it is, I feel like sometimes we are so focused on the outcome. We're so focused on that role or that status or that goal that oftentimes we miss the journey and what it takes to get there. And the journey is what ultimately gets you to that destiny. As you go back to that Gandhi quote and you think about in order to reach your destiny, it didn't have anything to do about having a plan or creating a vision or, documenting all the things that you need to do in order to achieve these milestones by the time you get to X. It ultimately just came back and said, you got to believe, right? So, man, if I just believe, like, I would love to lead teams one day. I would love to make an impact on my society. I would love to coach kids. I would love to coach adults. Like those are some of the beliefs. And if I believe them to be true, then it becomes the way that I think. And if I begin to think it enough, I can start speaking it. And there's an amazing accountability that happens when you actually speak something. You tell somebody your idea, immediately you become accountable for that idea. And then if you begin to speak it enough, you start living it. And then all of a sudden, fast forward. So that is really when I think about what Brad's experience was. He didn't go into his life and into his career with a lock solid plan. He never envisioned that he was going to be the CEO of this hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars organization all over North America. But he knew he wanted to do something. He knew what he loved. He knew what he was passionate about. And he continued to put himself in positions to ultimately be lucky. And so I think about that for all of us today. I think about, what are you doing today? What are you doing today to put yourself in a position to take a step forward in your life? Whether it be what you're eating, what you're putting in your mouth, how you're treating your body, the type of people that you're surrounding yourself with. When you have free time, what are you reading? What are you learning about? And are all of those things going to be a congregation of things that will move your life forward, or things that will move your life back, or things that will keep your life at the status quo? And I think for all of us, we are pre-programmed as humans to want to grow. We're strivers. Like we want to do more than we're doing today. It's just kind of in our DNA. And one of my favorite quotes is talking about iron sharpening iron. So as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. It's a Proverbs, and I just love that because I think about, for me, what has been some of the most impactful things that have driven me forward and made me a better person. And it's the people I spend my time with. If I spend my time around people that are better, further along, smarter, more experienced, have perspectives that I don't have, I tend to gravitate towards their game. If I spend my time with people that are not driven and not motivated, not pushing themselves, maybe they're not a great father, they're not a great husband, that means I'm going to pull down to their level. And the way that I always kind of explain this is in golf. So I used to play a little golf. I don't play a lot of golf now. My wife is actually telling me I need to play more golf, which means that I need to get after it. But it was interesting. Anytime I went and played golf, if I played around people that were better than me, inherently those are the times I would play my better game. If I went out and played golf and I were around people that were, worse than me or not as good as me, I tended to not play my best game. And so we think about iron sharpening iron. Who are you spending your time around? If you're on the golf course, you spending your time with people that are better, that you can learn from, that you can emulate, that you can see their mistakes and what they're doing well and not doing well, and how you can actually take that and put that into your own life? Or are you spending your time surrounding yourself with people that are going to bring you backwards or keeping you at status quo? So that was my main message when I sat down and talked about Brad is, what? I think we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace and a little bit of freedom from time to time to not have everything figured out. It's okay. It's okay. At this stage of my life, at 45, I'm reflecting back on my life. I'm like, man, did I do all the things that I wanted to do up to this point? And what am I going to do from this point forward? But you know what? Sometimes I think I need to give myself a little grace. It's the journey that makes life so amazing, not that ultimate goal. Okay, thanks for joining me on Built with Purpose. If you have enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more bold leaders find the show. For resources and show notes, visit our website and connect with me, Chris Fay, on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep building great companies, cultures, and legacies with purpose.